Hi there, my name is Amelia and I am the Outreach and Widening Participation Coordinator for Reed College, and I'm here today to give you some tips and tricks on auditioning for drama school. So these are all going to be things that you can apply to auditioning for Reed, but also these are things that we teach our students so that they can use them when going out to audition for drama school. So the first and potentially the most important thing that we teach all of our students when it comes to auditions is creating a cheat sheet. A cheat sheet is like an audition Bible. So before an audition, it's a document that you prepare that has listed on it the date of your audition, the time, the location, how you're going to get there, how much money you're going to need, if you need to stay over somewhere, what that is and where it is, and then the more specific things about the actual audition in terms of what clothes you need to wear, what clothes you need to bring with you, whether you need to bring sheet music, whether you need to bring tap shoes, whether you need to bring a classic or a contemporary monologue, absolutely everything and anything that you will need for an audition, right down to the very meticulous detail. And this might seem a little bit extreme or over the top, but it's super duper important, because on the day of an audition, you're very likely going to be nervous, and when you're nervous, you automatically forget things that you think you otherwise would just remember. So even the things that you think you definitely will remember or you won't forget them, it's really important to put those things on your cheat sheet too. It's just going to make your audition day a lot less stressful and allow you to actually focus your attention on the things that need it. So in an audition where you're required to sing with an accompanist, whether that is a musical theatre or a acting audition, it's really important to know how to set your tempo. And the reason it is really important to know how to do this properly is because if you don't, it can come across rude or dismissive unintentionally, and you're just automatically lowering your chances before you've even properly got in the room. So when you walk into the room and you go up to the pianist, also, before you go up to the pianist, make sure you greet everyone when you walk in the room. That doesn't mean you have to go up and shake everyone's hands, but just acknowledge everyone, including the pianist or the accompanist, because that is another thing that can get you in a little bit of trouble. Make sure you acknowledge everyone in the room and say hello, and once you've had a small discussion with the panel, then go up and set your tempo with the accompanist. So common ways that people use to set tempo is either tapping their foot or clicking or tapping on the piano, which depending on the person might not go down well. So the best way to go about it is just to sing a little piece of your song. Once you've given them the sheet music, sing a small extract of the song that's nice and simple, and the pianist can have a little play along with you, and then they can gauge from you what your tempo is going to be, and everyone's happy. So with dance auditions, a lot of dance schools often take on a larger number of students than other drama schools or musical theatre schools. Not always the case, but sometimes it is. So in a dance call, I think it's especially important to make yourself stand out visually. So you don't need to go into the audition with the craziest hairstyle and the craziest makeup. Make sure actually that whatever you are wearing or the way you are presenting yourself visually does still fit with the alignments of what they've asked. So for example, if they've asked for a specific colour leotard or tights or your hair to be in a certain way, do make sure that you abide to that. But within the boundaries that you have, play and choose to express yourself as you please and make yourself stand out from the crowd. So if that might be a slightly different way that you do your hair, or a quite a unique leotard if you're able to get a hold of one, and maybe it's in a bright colour. Whatever it is, try to just create a little something that the panel can particularly remember you by, because like I said, because a lot of these dance schools often do take larger numbers, so they have larger auditions. If there's just a little something that the judges can remember, oh, she had on an orange leotard, or she had a sparkly pink bow in her hair, then if you're someone that they like, that's going to work in your favour. So this one doesn't really apply to dance auditions, but I would say for singing pieces or for monologues and acting auditions, do not perform to the panel. Now, this is something that is often up for debate in our community and people have different opinions on it, but our opinion is do not perform to the panel, and this is why. A lot of panel members just don't like to be eyeballed. If you think about when you are going to the theatre and you're going to watch something, if someone is performing a really intense monologue and they are eyeballing you for 3.5 minutes straight, it's probably going to make you feel quite uncomfortable. They're also probably not going to be thinking about your performance as critically, because they'll just be sat thinking about how uncomfortable they are, and that's probably not going to work in your favour. Also, for you as a performer, if you are directing a monologue at a person and they break eye contact with you halfway through, it can really throw you off and distract you, because the line of eye contact and connection that you had made from the start of your piece has now been broken. And when you're in a situation where you're already likely to be nervous and a little bit in your head, that is something that could very easily throw you off. And the reality is, these people need to write notes on your piece, so it's very, very likely that they are going to break eye contact probably multiple times to look down and write notes and do whatever else. So in some audition rooms, they will have a student from the college or an extra person in the room who you are able to direct your monologue or your song at. Which, if you do have that option, we'd say great, definitely use it, because it's always better to perform something to a real person if you can. But that is not something that you get in every audition room, and it's actually quite a privilege, so don't count on it. Now, if you are in an audition where all the other candidates are in the room, you can definitely choose to use some of them for eyeline. You can do that either collectively as a group, or you can actually ask the panel, can I choose to direct my monologue to this person, and ask the person as well and see what both answers are. So if worse comes to worse and you don't get any of that and you have to perform to a wall, then this is what you do. You create thought anchors. Thought anchors are, you can imagine them to literally be physical anchors, and they are places around the room that you choose to place certain thoughts. So for example, if you had a monologue where you are speaking about your mother, and then you are speaking about your love for her, and then you are speaking about the river that you both used to go to when you were 5 years old, those 3 different things you can place in different areas around the room. It really allows you to ground yourself in whatever space that you're in and gives you a clear sense of direction throughout your piece. Now, this is definitely something that you can practice with and you should practice with, but what you should be aware of is not to place your thought anchors in the same place every time, because then your piece becomes repetitive and static and it often loses life, and that's really apparent to an audition panel. And also, if you end up in a room which is a different shape or a different size and you can't place those thought anchors in the exact same place, that's going to throw you on the day. So thought anchors you can use with a song or a monologue, and definitely take your time before you start your piece, whatever it is, to ground yourself in the space, have a look around, see where you're going to place your thought anchors, and then start when you're ready. Which leads me very nicely into my next point: don't rush. Now, with the amount of internal pressure that you're probably feeling in an audition, and also if you know that they've got other people to see, that's going to add another layer of pressure to you, which you really don't need to carry. It often causes people to go into auditions and rush. When you go into an audition room, especially if it's a drama school audition, you have very likely paid to be there. That is your space for that amount of time, and you have every right to claim it and use it as you please. And most likely that's what they want you to do as well. They want to be entertained. Yes, they have got potentially hundreds of these to look through, but they want hundreds of great pieces to look through. So do whatever you need to do, ensure that your piece is great. Now, obviously take that with a pinch of salt. Do not break anything, do not hurt anyone, and do not take stupid amounts of time to start your piece. But the space is yours. Use it as you wish. It's your audition, your piece, your space. Claim it. Which actually again leads me very nicely into my next piece. You are a performer, so perform. Now, as a performer myself, I know how difficult this can be to actively put in motion when you are in that audition space, and things can feel so overwhelming and so terrifying, but you want to do this because you love what you do. So show that. That is what the audition panel want to see. All performers are storytellers. Whether you are a dancer, a singer, an actress, a writer, a mime artist, a comedian, whatever you are telling some kind of story. And we as an audience want to know that story. We want to go on that journey with you. So allow us to do that. Your job in that room is to take us on a journey with you. So through whatever method or medium you are performing in, educate us, tell us something we don't know, tell us a story we don't know, take us on a journey that we haven't been on before. That's what excites an audition panel, that's what makes you memorable, and that's what makes people think, this person loves what they do, I love what I do, so I want to work with them. Actually, this is a slight backtrack, but just going back to singing and acting auditions, if you are ill, you don't need to declare it. Saying before you perform your piece that you are ill, whether it is true or not, always looks like an excuse. And I know sometimes it can be really scary, especially if it's a singing audition, which is a really big belty piece or a real soprano piece, and you know that you're not going to be able to perform to the best of your ability. You want to make people aware that you're struggling, but unfortunately it does just always look like you're making excuses for yourself. And the panels at all of these schools are highly trained, highly experienced. They know the difference between someone who is singing out of tune because they don't have a sense of tune and someone who is singing out of tune because they are unwell. They can tell, and it won't work against you if you are genuinely ill. And again, you're a performer and a storyteller first and foremost, right? So regardless of whether your voice is broken in half, you can still tell the story of that song. And lastly, interviews. So interviews are often the final stage of an audition process. And I think people often don't know what to do with interviews or how to prep for them. So here's some things that you can do before going into an interview that should work in your favour. Now, I'm sure I speak for most drama schools when I say this, but I can say particularly for Reed, something that is so important in an interview is that you know your industry. Know your industry inside out, upside down, like the back of your hand, and love it. Again, this is a partnership that's about to be created here. It's a mutual relationship. So we know that we're bringing commitment and passion and a love for what we do to the table, and we want to see that reciprocated. So watch your favourite films and know who your favourite actors and directors are, and also watch films that you hate and know who the actors and the directors are. Go to the theatre as much as you can. You don't have to spend loads of money to go to the theatre. If you're lucky enough to live in a big city, then it's very, very likely that there are discount schemes available for you to be able to go to your local theatres. If you live in London, for example, there are so many different options of different theatres that do discount schemes where you can go and see shows for £10, a fiver, sometimes even free. And whatever you go and see, have an opinion on it. If you like it, great. We want to know why. If you don't like it, also great, probably even better. We want to know why. Have an opinion on what you've seen, dissect it, analyse it, see what you thought was great, see what you thought you could do better or they could do better. Show a keen interest for the industry that you are trying to enter. And if you don't come from a big city or you don't come from somewhere where you can get access to a professional production, that's absolutely fine. Go and see a local amateur dramatics production, go and see a youth production, go and see a school production if nothing else. Just see something, try and see some form of live art that you can comment on. Go and see what your local busker is performing on the street if you have to, that's still a valid form of live art. If you love musicals, listen to soundtracks, find out who wrote the lyrics, find out who composed them. And don't just listen to classical musical theatre if that's what you love, or contemporary if that's what you love. Listen to a mix, listen to a broad range. You need to understand where things have come from, but also where things are going now. Both are equally as important. Look at choreographers, look at mime artists, look at operas, look at directors of photography. Find an area of this industry that you know nothing about and have a look into it. Now, of course, we're not expecting you to be a theatrical encyclopedia, but we just want to see that you have a real keen, current, active interest in what you're trying to go into. And it is an area which so many people get through to the last stage of interview with us and then they just fall short because they're great performers but they just have no understanding of the industry that they're going into. And of course we can teach you a lot of these things, but we need to know that you can actually retain the information and you've got the passion to keep learning and to keep discovering, because that's what's going to keep you afloat once you enter the industry. And just super quickly to finish, one thing that you can do specifically for your Reed College audition is head over to our social media pages, whether that's Instagram, Twitter or Facebook, as all of our heads of department recently released some short videos on their personal tips and tricks and things that they specifically look for in their section of the Reed College audition. And again, it's just a little extra something that could give you a small edge and allow you to really stand out from the crowd in your audition. So I really hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or queries, please feel free to have a look on our website for anything, or have a look on our social medias. We're really active on our socials at the moment and posting a lot. Or if you have a really specific question which you would like answered directly by the college, please feel free to email me at amelia.stevenson@reedcollege.org.